you get a link? Did you get links from David?
Yeah.
Turn them down though. Here. welcome to Liquid Lunch. We're coming at you live. It's still June, right, Priscilla?
That's right.
Who is my co-host today? Last minute,
Thanks
kind
for
of
having
like
me. It's a pleasure.
synchronicity. We're gonna see how it goes, right?
Let's see how it goes.
It's good. So, what did you do over the weekend? It was kind of rainy and cold, eh?
This weekend, I took my girls to the library. We were gonna go to the beach, but then the rain.
It was no good for the
So,
beach.
Yeah, I just cooked a lot. A
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you?
Oh, I don't know. Doing too many things.
Too many things, too little time.
Had to do some banking. It's exciting, isn't it?
Errands, being an
Yeah,
adult.
banking and renovations and stuff like that.
Rentals are fun.
Yeah, renos, no.
When you don't live in it.
They're not fun.
When you don't
It's
live in
just
it,
work you don't want to do on a weekend.
Yeah.
No thing.
I feel like
Okay, you want to get busy? Because we got a big
Let's do
show
this.
lined up today.
We do. I'm so excited right now.
Well,
Very excited.
really?
I am.
Why?
I am.
Why are you so excited?
Well, it's my first day
I
co-hosting
know.
with you, and we have David Peterson here today. So
Thank you.
Yes, former
Yeah.
Premier of Ontario,
That's
right,
right.
David?
No, not the same one. Yeah. Well, let me just change the other face. That's right.
You probably heard that joke more than once,
I
right?
have. That's right. But it helps people know my name, right? It's easy to spell, right? They already know that. So it's
Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about something that's I mean, I've never heard of this idea before. It's called letgopaper.com.
correct. That's right.
And maybe you can give us a little bit of an introduction to the concept.
Sure. I mean, the concept of that is to help people let go of their emotions by transferring the energy and the emotional states and the thoughts that you have onto paper. Now, part of what we were doing before is like for people to help with the enlightenment process. If you want to be enlightened, you want to just release all the emotional baggage that's holding you down. Now, as you want to go up with the enlightenment process, if you're familiar with David Hawkins and his research on consciousness,
Yes.
okay, so a lot of that stuff which is there, if you start doing the release process, it's on 250 on the scale of consciousness. But when you want to take all that thoughts and emotions and transfer it out on paper, and you want to get rid of that paper, which is a lot what people want to do based on what they've written down, you end up finding that process, the destruction being in fire or shredding it, that is on the scale of 30. So that really brings you down. So if you're trying to be enlightened, when you want to go up to the 700s and higher, bring your consciousness level higher, your vibration level higher, you don't want to be dipping all the way down just so that you can climb back up. So we wanted a way of having people to just move forward without going down. And the whole purpose was you want to move up and keep moving up. Take one step forward, no steps backwards. It's always forward.
Okay, so let me ask you, just so I understand David Hawkins,
Right.
how that relates. So you're saying that when people would put their thoughts or their negative stuff onto a piece of paper
Right.
and then burn it?
Yes.
And the burning of it would cause them to go down.
Correct, because that's destruction, right? So what happens is you're suddenly telling your mind and your body that in order for me to get rid of stuff, I have to destroy this.
I see.
Where it says I need to release it. So when you're doing a release, you're not holding on to anything. It doesn't go anywhere. You're actually, that's the purest form of letting go. Release.
All right, so that's what we're doing with this paper.
Exactly.
The
'cause
let go paper.
Exactly, because the paper dissolves instantly in the water. The moment you drop it in water and give it a stir, it just completely dissolves. No paper does that. You can't do that with any other paper.
What kind of paper is it?
It's magic paper.
That's awesome. You got it at the last few seconds there. That's awesome.
And that's why we created we created a children's line, right? Like, because I got two little kids, and they always call that magic paper. Give me some magic paper, because they like to do it, like if they're angry or anything like that. Okay, I want to write it down. I want to draw it. So we created this magic. We called it the magic water paper for them, because they're kids, right?
Right.
But for us adults, we said, okay, we need to let go, right? So that's why termed the let go paper from that perspective.
So where did this concept come to you? Did it come to you
Yeah, so I was
inspiration?
Well, so I was driving down the road and asked God, like, okay, how do I help people get enlightened in an easier way than just letting them do a lot of mind exercises? Because a lot of it is, if you want to go through release, forgiveness, and all the good stuff that you need, how do you get to your destiny? How do you fulfill your life purpose, right?
Yeah.
And understanding that. And so he showed me this paper that, when I was a kid, my dad was a chemist and, a laboratory, so he used to bring this really cool paper that if you just, you just lit it would just completely disintegrate without a shred of nothing. There would be nothing left behind.
So the magic paper was always in the genetics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right. So he showed me that. So then, I was sitting with my brother and it's like, we need to do this, but without fire, because, fire has this whole other consciousness level to it. So he did a lot of research and stuff like that, went and met with a lot of manufacturing plants and got them to help us make this stuff.
So it's like a new invention, or
It's been around for different purposes. So we got the licensing and stuff like that to do it for this purpose, and then so we own now the trademarks and everything for letting go.
you could
So
probably
that's-
sell this to bookies. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you want something that doesn't show any sort evidence, it's a good paper to use.
That's what we're talking about here, right?
Keep all the markets open.
Exactly, that's right.
Yeah.
And so that's really where it came about. So to help people with that, because a lot of times when people try to say, like, people ask, like, how do I get to my destiny? Like, how do I fulfill that? And how do I uncover that? And we say this. I always tell them there's only two things you really have a control of. You don't have a control of your destiny. The only thing you really have a control of is the choices that you make. And the choices that you make are influenced based on your past. So unless you let go of your past, you won't be making the choices that can change your destiny in your future, because you're always going to be having past, history repeats itself.
Yeah.
If you've got the emotional baggage in your past there and you keep making a decision based on what's happened to you and you've not let that go, you're always going to be in the same thing, forever and ever, right? Until you change that. And the only way you can change that is by letting all that go, all that energy and
Okay.
stuck emotions.
We got this little video. It's
Yep.
about a minute long.
Yep.
Can we just watch it? Will that help
Absolutely.
us understand let go
It
paper?
will absolutely help you, because there's a small clip there showing the paper dissolving, and that's pretty
that
cool.
kind of
And
stuff,
Lily
so-
is the a spokesperson over there.
Okay, so we're going to watch and listen to this video right now and then come back and speak with David a little bit more here on Liquid Lunch.
From a very beautiful place.
Now is good. All right. Okay, we're back. So there's, well, it didn't even have any talking, right? It was just sort of self-evident that
Exactly.
what it is,
Yeah,
right?
because everyone experiences it differently, right? So we didn't want to tell you how to use it, because there's a lot of people that tell us how they're using Lego paper. Like I was just telling you about earlier, there's a lady, there's an artist in Sydney, Australia, that's using Lego paper for children. So there's about 9,000 people that are going to be using Lego paper. They created this amazing garden of goodbye. So there's this origami slide, so they go and write down the stuff that they want to release and let go of, and they drop it down the slide and it goes into the creek, and just completely.
What do they do? Make a little boat out of it?
Yeah, make a bow, make whatever they can do with that kids can do with origami and stuff like that, and just let it go down this cool, amazing slide, and it just completely goes in the creek because it's eco-friendly and stuff like that. So it's completely safe, and that's one of the reasons why they took this paper from us.
That's a really interesting idea. I mean, you could see that. You could have that could be in theme parks. You could have a ride for
Absolutely. The potential's endless, right? It's up to people to use it. We just wanted to create a vehicle for people to express themselves, right? That's really what we want to do. We don't want to tell you how to express yourself. We want to give you the opportunity to do it however you want to do it, because everyone's got brilliant minds and creative juices that are amazing. So I just want to.
So this is something you guys came up with. This is your invention,
right.
your innovation,
Yep.
your business concept,
That's right.
right?
Yep.
and you guys are based in Toronto.
Yes, we are. Yeah. So Mississauga.
Now, what's your background, David?
Oh,
how did you get from wherever you came from to here?
What's the story?
The real story. Okay, the story behind the story.
Yeah.
Well, my background's in consulting, right? So I work with large FIs, financial institutions, to help them bring business and technology together. So when you do that, you sort of look at you working with a lot of people and all the stuff that comes along with that. And then when I came here, I sort of authored a book to help businesses align more of the technology, but understanding people, because people are the heart of everything, right? So once you understand people, you understand how to move around and make changes. So when I looked at that, and like I've been working in this realm for ever since I was a kid. On my trips to India and stuff like that, you get these lovely bookstores and have these massive amounts of books. So I'd always go there and read every single thing I could read from lots of different things. Like you name it, I've almost read it, right? In different sciences. So I was very, I love people, and I wanted to understand how do you change? And then I came across a lot of other teachings and different things. And I said, okay, how do you increase your level of consciousness without doing effort? So like my main goal is how do I go and do something and become faster at it? So we've done a lot of work with people with the chakras, and you're familiar with the chakras, the different energy centers. So I've been able to map off to my research the different energy centers with emotions. So each energy center has different emotions. So on our site there's actually an online assessment where you can go and do that and figure out which energy center is blocked, and then we have the questions to help you unblock that, and then we work with people to help unblock all those energies that they've got. And then we got a little cool gizmo that we can actually take a chakra photo basically of each person to see how your chakras are aligned, and that really is really cool.
So this is only online, not in person, or both?
No, so if you're in person, I can do the photo. So what I spend the last couple of months trying to take what a machine can do and translate that in a sort of an assessment, sort of question-based thing to figure out which energy center is blocked with you online. So you don't have to be in front of a person. All you can do is online, get the paper, and you can sit by yourself, because a lot of the stuff is one-on-one, right? This is stuff where you want to sit by yourself and pour your heart out, because when you pour your heart out and you open it out, you're actually opening up your heart and energy center, and then you want to release all that energy, and then when you release it into the water, it goes instantly. And we've done cool stuff where we've actually done, like I've taken photographs of people before they did the letting go, people after they did the letting go, people with doing the letting go with aromatherapy, so combining essential oils to it. That's why we've combined it with it. We've done it with people doing bioenergy healing. What's the difference with it afterwards and before? And they've experienced profound things. There's a couple of ladies that, when they did it, they've actually, if you're familiar with the chakras, there's this little drawing of the funnel, like the funnels. They've actually had visions where they actually saw funnels and colors opening up, which for them was like, wow, this is amazing. You hear about it until you experience it. It all just sounds, unbelievable, right? So they've actually experienced it. So the profound stuff with that. We've combined it with prayer, and we've seen different combinations of stuff of what, and that's what I spend the last 8 months right now doing, is just perfecting the combinations of what can be done when. Because if you do something out of sequence, you don't get the full effect. And my whole goal is trying to get people to, release all the stuff so they can experience higher levels of vibration, energy, and consciousness faster. Because it really is easy, but it's just a matter of how do you position yourself of doing it. And if you do things out of step, you sort of don't get the full result because you're sort of, out of sequence. There's a process to things.
So it's a chakra photograph, right?
Right, yeah.
And essentially you can see the health or the...
Yes.
Of the chakras,
yeah,
or if there are blockages.
Yeah, exactly. The blockages, the size of that. So working with that, I'm able to, work a lot more with people to say exactly this is it, and then I can say this is what you really need to work on. So I had to translate that instead of having there's a million people out there trying to get this information. So I sort of made an online assessment tool for people to just find out whether it's blocked or it's flowing. And obviously, if I take a photo, then it's easier. But I need your physical hands to take the photo without,
I see.
Right? So that's what I can do at my, my office, right, in Mississauga. But I can't sit and do that online for people that are in Australia, UK, and the US, which are, people that really use the product a lot, right? So what I'm trying to do a lot is trying to get, people that in our hometown in Canada, here's something that can really help you, right?
So how does the paper coincide with the online? Is it collaborative
Yeah,
idea
so-
or is it separate?
No, what it does is it tells people how to use it. So what are the areas you need to focus on? Because a lot of things is we have so many different things that run through our minds, so many different emotions, so many different problems. But what we do is we go through a process of boiling it down to the key that you need to focus on, the one issue that you need to focus on. Then the second one and the third one. The other one, sort of what we found is it sort of disappears. And it sort of just exists because it's just sort of manifestations of one real problem. And when you come to the understanding of what your real problem is, everything becomes clearer.
Now, how do you do that? How do you go from taking the picture of,
Right.
of their chakras,
Right.
but you do that by taking a picture of their hands?
Yeah, so their fingers go into this little machine. It takes
Yeah.
a little, gas discharge visualization
Right.
technology. So it just gives a little sort of current, gets a photograph, and then it translates that, gives me a picture of the chakra, so I can see exactly what the energy is. And then based on that, I can tell you exactly all the emotional blocks that you have based on that energy center that's off.
And then, so
Okay.
emotional blocks.
Right.
But how do you get from there to like writing something
Oh,
on a piece of paper?
Because I know, so each emotional block contains certain set of, like I've got about 10 to 15 questions that are related to those emotions. So I get you to go through those 15 questions, and when you go through those 15 questions, I go through a ranking process with you. And then when you go through the ranking process, I'm able to identify the key ones that you need to work on, and then from that, how to actually let that go. And it's translating that, right? And it's using every single word. It's like if you see an angry person, right? They just they go on and they're blabbering on constantly because they're trying to transfer all that anger, that emotion out into words. And that's the same thing you're doing with the Let Go paper. You're writing all those words down because I am happy and I am sad. You have happiness in the word I and am, and you have sadness in the words I am, and when you use sad. So that same energy is in all those words. So when you write all those words out, you're transferring all that energy out, and you're not holding it in. So what happens is, when you meet somebody does something to you, you're like, okay, I'm going to let it go, right? I'm not going to make a big deal about it. Second person does something, that's okay. Third person, by around the fourth person or fifth, depending on when your straw breaks, you're going to be like, that's it, I've had enough. It wasn't that this person did anything more than the other. It was just a combination of all those people doing things that accumulated all this energy that in the end just came and burst out, right? So if you see children, why do they react violently, right? Why do you punch or why do you go and become physical? Is because you have all this pent-up emotion that you just never released. So if you release it, because anger is anger, it doesn't matter how you cut and dice it and slice it, you can get anger from so many different situations and experiences. You can get fear from so many different situations and experiences. You can get sadness and love from all these different, so depending on what you're holding on to, your grief and stuff like that, it's tied into all these different experiences that you've had, these memories. And your brain sort of does this amazing job, and this is where the brain sort of is your enemy in a way, because it catalogs every single memory, cross-referencing it in such amazing ways that you can pull up stuff in an instant, right? But when it pulls that up, it pulls up all the emotions and ties it up with all the other memories that you had, where you had all the same other emotions that were tied into it at the same time. And then you sort of had this huge burst of emotion for this one thing, which is actually connected to 15 other memories or 20 other memories that's happened through your whole life.
So it's bringing up,
exactly.
stuff from the past.
Exactly. So when you release all of that, you start moving forward. So the next decision is something that happens to you. You don't base it on what's happened to your past because you've actually let all that go.
Does it really work?
It absolutely, well, for me, absolutely. You
Yeah.
have to experience it,
Yeah.
right? So it's a point of, if you do it correctly, you will experience it. I've had people that have said that when they've done it, especially when they've combined it with prayer and stuff like that, the next morning when they woke up, they felt a shift, like an energy shift in them that they just couldn't explain. There's something shifted. They said, I don't know what it is, but I feel different. Like I can't explain it, right?
Right.
So it's hard to explain what you can't explain, right? It's
Yeah.
like there's no words to it, but that's why I said you have to experience it.
And then I'm just curious because just going back to the David Hawkins
Sure.
thing, do you test, what is that, muscle testing?
Yeah,
Is that how that
yeah,
works?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can use muscle testing. So if you use muscle testing, you can see that when you do burning and shredding and anything that you do with the paper,
Yeah.
right, you're lowering your level of consciousness to 30, right?
230.
Yeah, you bring it down right down to 30, right? And if you use the Let Go paper, you're doing the release process, which is at 250. So you're not even lowering your level of consciousness below 200.
And
which
you've
is-
tested all that?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so who should consider doing this? of the people watching this right now?
So basically, everyone who wants to move forward, like anybody who wants to realize their full potential, realize their goals, right? Realize that, say, I'm holding on to stuff. There's something that's preventing me from experiencing whatever it is that I want to experience, right? Like, be it, happiness, joy, financial, whatever it is that you feel that, is not coming your way because of something that's there in your past. It's understanding that this is a tool to help you, right? And that's really what it is. It's a tool. You've got to do the work, right? You've got to write it down. You've got to figure out what it is that's holding me back, right? And it can go back for generations. It can be karma, stuff that's been passed down from generation to generation. This is a true form of forgiveness, right? Transferring all that energy and saying, I want to actually release it. I don't want it to. It doesn't go into the water. That's the other big thing, right? When you release something, it doesn't mean you're moving it from one form to another. The first part is transferring it. You're transferring your energy and your emotions to the paper. So it does exist in the paper at that point. But the moment you drop it into the water causes that form of release, which is completely different. And that's the key part. You're releasing all that energy. And once you release that energy comes back to its original state, which is just pure energy, right? We have that perspective of this is negative energy and this is positive energy based on how we perceive it. But if you take away perception and the memories and the emotions out of it, it's just pure energy. And that's what happens in the release process. It becomes pure energy.
Wow. Yeah. Which we know water can do, right? Based on the work of Dr. Emoto and,
exactly.
And other people.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's why in all our chakra kits, what we've done is we've combined sage essential oils as a form of clearing, right? So you can drop that in the water. If you just want to feel that, okay, I may be transferring some emotions to the water. But if you're transferring emotions to the water, that's a big difference. You're transferring emotions. There's a big difference. We're not telling you to transfer. We're telling you to let go. We're telling you to release. So the release happens the moment you drop it into the water and it dissolves. That's releasing. Anything else is transferring, right?
Okay. Now, I understand you're going to be doing some of this with the Buddha Groove.
That is right. Yeah, Helen's got a whole big letting go ritual all set up and lined up. And yeah, that's right.
Now, she's coming on the show in just a few minutes.
Awesome.
But what's that going to look like for people that might end up at the Buddha Groove?
Okay.
What can they expect?
They can expect some pretty cool things. So I would tell them to be as open and honest as they can, because you don't really experience it unless you're being honest with yourself. If you're just gonna, just put your name in it and just drop it down in a piece in the water and watch it, you're just seeing the magic of the paper. You're seeing how the paper just instantly dissolves. So there's a wow factor to that. I'm not going to say no, right? But when you actually write down all the stuff that you've never told anybody and you've never shared with anybody, and the stuff from your heart, and you actually write that down on a piece of paper, and then you do it, that's when you actually experience it. Within about 5 seconds to, depending on what you've expressed, you will feel a shift, right? And the moment you tune your energy body, you'll feel that instantly. For some people, like I said, maybe the next day when they wake up, because the energy sort of reset in the night, right? But if you're in tune with, with your energy, and many people are, as you write it, you'll feel that, I feel lighter, and you can feel that lightness. You can feel like there's something that's being released, right? And that's the important thing. The energy is going, because if you're familiar with M-string theory and quantum physics, right, it's all the same thing. It's the science of taking the energy and cutting the strings. So if you're familiar with cord cutting and stuff like that, where people are cutting the cords of energy, you're cutting those emotional energy strings that your memory that's held onto, right? Mm-hmm. Once you cut those emotional strings, the emotion isn't there anymore. You'll always have the memory. Memory never goes away. That's the brain's job. Catalog memory, everything's referenced. Emotion goes away. So you'll be like, I know I was angry, but I don't remember how angry I was. But I know I was really angry, but that's it. But you don't have the emotion because you don't have that reference anymore. You don't have the anger. So when you can't remember the anger, you know you've actually let go, because you've actually lost that emotion and energy. If you can remember it, it means there's something that you still haven't let go of. But there's another root, as how I would call it, that is feeding that anger, it's another memory that you haven't touched upon, that maybe you're afraid to touch upon because of what's happened to you.
So for people who don't know, what is the Buddha Groove? What is the location? Have a specific date to attend it?
Well,
right, so that's Helen's. I'm going to let Helen talk.
Helen's going to be here.
Right.
She's going to tell us all about the Buddha Groove.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Are you going to have it on your website though at some point?
Yes, I will. I will be linking that to
okay,
that,
so people can go to your website, find out more about Let Go Paper.
That's right. Absolutely.
And about the process and about the Buddha Groove will be on there eventually.
Exactly.
What is the website, David?
www.letgopaper.com.
Okay, and people, we're going to actually, as we go out here, we're going to put your site up and people can have a look at it.
Cool.
But are you open to people who might want to wholesale this special paper and stuff like that as well?
Yeah, we're going to put some more information on that. So we want to partner with a lot of different people to help get it out there.
I could
'Cause
see lots of applications of it. Lots of practitioners out there who could use this
Yes,
as part of the process, right?
Exactly, and a lot of them do. So we have a lot of people that buy from the States. So like a lot of stuff that we do is international, which is kind of for us. It's like this is our home base. We're here in Canada. We want to get Canadians to actually use it. We're like this is the home of Leco paper. Let the people at home use it, right?
So do you personally have a storefront, or is it just
Yes, we
online?
do. Yes, no, we have a storefront.
Okay, what's the
yeah.
location?
Yeah, it's 6787 in Beta Crescent in Mississauga. So just close to Derry on the 410, and you're there. So we have the border of Mississauga and Brampton.
6787 Invader Crescent.
That's
So that's
right.
retail. People can walk in off the
Absolutely.
street.
Well,
That's
yeah,
very cool.
That's right.
Okay. David, great to meet you. Great to have this conversation.
Thank you very much.
You learn something new every day here
David
on
Peterson.
Liquid Lunch.
Thank you for coming in.
So thank you, and we're going to take a little break, play some music, watch the website, David's website, come back with Helen Goldstein talking about the Buddha Groove right after this, thatchannel.com. And we're back here on the show, and we got Helen Goldstein joining us. Helen, as you said, the 4th or 5th time on the show, and this is the first time you found out it was live, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome, Helen Goldstein. You're
Thank you
live.
for inviting me. Live. It's like, it's alive. Yeah.
That's right. It's alive.
Here I am.
But
I'm
it's
alive.
but it's no different, right? It's just
No.
it's just like we're having a conversation.
Exactly. How long we were just trying to figure out how long I've known you. It's been at least 10 years. It's been
Well-
10 years. So many incarnations, right?
I think I met you on the show. You first came on as a guest. I think you were still doing your yoga studios.
I had the yoga studio, yeah.
And that was, I don't think it was quite 10 years, but could
Yeah.
have been
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Lots
it feels
has
like,
happened.
yes,
You have to update us.
Yeah.
time keeps on slipping.
Slipping.
Into the- that's right.
Enough.
Yeah, let's break it
Okay.
down. Come on.
So Helen, okay, so we just had David on talking about Let Go Paper.
Yeah.
And and you're going to have him at the boot. Are you back? What's going on?
Yeah.
Buddha Grooves are back, right?
Okay. So I hadn't done a Buddha Groove in a while because for many different reasons. But you know, I love people. And I love introducing people. I'm a connector. And I thought, okay, it's time for me to do another groove. So I'm doing one on the 21st of July. It's going to be a big party. Gary Diggins is going to be playing New World music. It's going to be great dancing. We've got amazing food. So bring your appetite, and we're going to do meditation. There's going to be drumming. And David, we're going to do some ritual with his Let Go papers, which I have been using for different workshops. And I'm going to tell you, they are amazing. So can you imagine, there's going to be around 200, 250 people in the room letting go together, right? So what a ritual we're going to be doing. So I'm very excited about it. And the reason I am going, well, I love parties. I'm a party girl, but
I can
one
tell
of the
your hair.
I
most
know. I'm a
definitely.
party girl.
I have to update my hair. I feel boring now.
I love it.
It's natural.
Right. So is this.
Yeah.
This is natural too. Do you know what I love? I love it when like a 4-year-old kid tugs at his mother's skirt and says, "Mommy, Mommy, look at that lady." And the mother goes, "Don't do that, don't do it." She's so embarrassed. And, you know, I go, "It's okay, I have purple hair." You know, it's really okay. So I'm launching something that I'm really excited about. And that's why I'm doing this big Buddha Groove to launch Buddha Groove Salons.
So that is, I mean, what's the difference between a Buddha Groove and a Buddha Groove salon?
Hugh, I'm so glad you asked.
Well, I'm just, I can't figure it
on the
out
edge
on
I
my
can't
own.
your
figure it out. I can't
seat.
figure it out.
Right,
either.
okay.
Yeah, fill us in. Yeah.
So Buddha Grooves are these big parties, right, where we get together and we party. And what I've noticed, and correct me, I mean, tell me, you live in this, you know a lot of spiritual entrepreneurs, people who are conscious business people. And what I've noticed is that there really isn't anywhere for people like us to go, to connect, to make strategic alliances in a structured way, right? I mean, there's meetups, but they're not, to me, I mean, I've been looking at this for a while. So Buddha Groove salons are for socially aware entrepreneurs who want to make a difference in the world and who want to learn really good skills. So the structure of it is that we're going to have a Dharma talk, which is a wisdom talk, given by somebody who is a successful business person, who has a heart-centered business, who comes from the heart in business, who understands how to do business in an appropriate way. Then we're going to have meditation and or visualization classes. Short, you know, I mean, people's attention span is not all that long usually. Teaching these people how to achieve their goals, whether it's business, whether it's love, whether it's life skills, health, whatever. So it's focused on that. And then there'll be networking so that they can meet each other and create strategic alliances. And to me, wouldn't you want to do business with somebody who's in a room like that, who wants to be a better person, right? So right away, you're cutting through a lot of stuff that you would have to cut through if you're going to a regular networking event, and there will be no name tags.
I think that's a beautiful concept.
No
so
name tags.
can people sign up online, or is it in person?
No, it's online, and I have a venue right now. I've got to just double check it. We'll probably launch, and I know, I'm getting sort of mixed messages. Some people are saying it's okay. I'm going to launch, I think, in August, even though I know it's a quiet time. I think I'm going to launch in August just to get the bugs out. And people are still in town. I'm not going anywhere. Are you going away?
August is too far in the future. I can't.
Exactly.
I
It's a
can't.
month away. No,
Yeah.
it's not.
I-
It's more. It's 6 weeks away. So it's a month away. So yeah, I'm going to probably do it in August, if not sometime in September.
That's the salon.
The salons.
So okay, so is it? Are they smaller, like less people
Yeah.
than a regular Buddha group,
Yeah.
and it's more serious, less party? Is that?
Can you possibly imagine me having an event with 40 to 70 people and there not being a party part to it? Is that possible?
Well, I know, but I'm just trying to.
No, it's
I-
more. If you want to call it serious, it's business oriented.
So it's like a networking, but there's extra stuff. to
Yeah,
this-
I mean
this-
they're going to learn skills.
Yeah.
And yes, it's networking, but it's networking without the name tags and the desperate. I need to meet. It's going to be much more casual.
But as
and
you
easy.
say, you're way further ahead because you're in a room with the right kind of people, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, you're not, yeah, you are way further ahead. You're going to be speaking to the kind of people that you want to do business with, whether it's business to business or whether you're looking for someone that you want to align yourself
Right.
with.
So what inspired your Buddha salon ideas?
Well, I noticed that at my Buddha groups, which are bigger, you've been to one, right, Hugh?
I've had a fabulous time at Buddha Grooves, and I've met some great people there, and always, it's always worth going,
Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun,
Yeah.
and
So these are
worthwhile.
fun, where music. There's live music, so people connect. Like I watched the buzz in the room, and I was watching cards being exchanged, and then people sometimes got together after, or definitely, the next day or whatever. So I was just watching how people were so excited to meet other like-minded people. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if they could do that in a more structured, and I kind of don't like the word structure, but it's more structured.
it's better. I mean, some people just don't. Some people function better in a more structured environment, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm one of those people, Helen. Believe it or not, I need a structured
Really?
situation.
Come on, you're making that
No,
up.
I'm serious.
Okay.
To each his own. Hey.
I mean, I don't know you that well. I've only, but sure, yeah.
Even before the Buddha events, the Buddha salons, even before that, how did you get incorporated with the community in Toronto?
Oh, it's such a good question. Thank
Yeah.
you, Priscilla.
Yeah.
I sold real estate for 15 years, and my clients were cultural creatives. So they were the artists, and I used to call them heads with bread. So I had, they were heads with bread. So I had this base of really interesting people to play with anyways. So for many different reasons, I got out of real estate. I did really, really well at it. I did really well, but it didn't matter how much money I made. So I left that, and I still had this base of really interesting, creative people. And I opened up the yoga studio in Toronto in 1994, which became the biggest yoga studio in Canada. I had 58 employees and thousands of people coming through. And I had the first drumming events, the first ecstatic dance. I always did things a little bit differently. I'm a serial entrepreneur. The business of yoga is not what a lot of people think it is. But I had a huge profile. I wrote for Air Canada's En Route magazine. I was, I was in pretty much every national magazine, tons of TV. Toronto Life called me the godmother of yoga. I mean, I was really well known as somebody who got the yoga thing going here. So I had that. So people kind of trust me. The heads with bread trust me because I could deal with their craziness. I made them promise that they would not sign a document if they were under any kind of influence. It was like in writing before we even initiated working together. So, and then having the yoga studio and having thousands of people come through, and a lot of the studios in Toronto are teachers that taught at my studio, a lot of them, a lot. So I had that base, and I started teaching in corporations. I sold the yoga studio, and I started teaching in corporations, all kinds of corporations. And I noticed that there was a need for people in the wellness business to learn how to teach as well. So I did an online course that the Workplace Wellness Academy. So I have this online course as well. But what I saw was just this need for community. I do these small parties. I have 40 women at we do these great parties where we did this letting go paper, this ritual. I just see that people just want to connect. I know we're all on the computer and we're on Facebook, but where do you go? I mean, where would you go if you wanted to meet people that you wanted to hang out with? Yoga studio?
I know where I'd go.
Where?
To the Buddha Groove.
Exactly. But you wouldn't go to a bar.
Oh, I might go to a bar.
You might go to a bar.
Depending what day of the week it is.
Yeah, because I need to do something every day, Helen.
You have to go to the Buddha. Okay. Well, I have to say that I have gone to a bar now and then to celebrate something, but there's such a need. There really is,
No, because there's a conscious intention behind it, right? And that is to have a positive outcome for people as individuals and collectively, right? And I think that's what happens every time you do it.
Yeah, well, my hero is somebody who really shifted the way I look. I mean, I've always thought this way, but to have it so plain is Barbara Marx Hubbard, who is an amazing, she's in her 80s and she's still rocking out there. And when I took my yoga teacher training, I was just going to learn it because I wanted to be a better yogi, not to ever open up a studio. And she talked about, I remember sitting in front of her at Kripalu where I did my training, and she did this. She talked about concentric circles of influence, how that's the only way that we can shift things in the world. And she kept doing this. And that's what I'm about, is hooking people up, constantly creating concentric, oh, you've got to be this person and that person, and that's
You're a connector, like you said.
I'm a connector.
From the beginning.
I'm a connector. I just connected, hopefully, David, to somebody in Sydney, Australia with his papers. But yeah, I love doing it. It brings me joy. And I figure I might as well, somebody once said, you've got to make money at this. And I always thought, how can you do that? But yeah, you can, and you should. You should make money at what you're good at.
There is, and sometimes it's a trick to it, but you have to, I call it sustainable. Like if you're going to do anything, right, it's got to be sustainable, which means you need to cover the costs, you need to make it worth your while for all the time and the effort you're putting into it, right? And there's got to be a way to do it.
Yeah.
Even if it's difficult, there's got to be a way, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you're living your dream.
Well, yeah, I do live my dream. I live in California for the winters. My kids live in Northern California, and my grandchildren. So I am away for the worst weather, and I come back as soon as the weather starts to get good. And I'll be busy over the next few months getting this whole thing going. I've got, I'm really, really excited about it. And I'll be doing, I think I'll do a Buddha Groove every 3 months, and I'll probably fly back for that.
And then how often do you think the salons will happen?
Well, I'm going to start with once a month, but my larger vision, because I am an entrepreneur, so I think very big. And I spoke with David about having something at his center. Wouldn't it be great if you could have one once a week throughout the GTA, meaning Oakville, Toronto,
Sure.
Burlington? I know Burlington's not in the GTA, but because people really do not want to be driving for an hour.
And it should be like wherever the demand is, wherever people want to get together in their local communities, it should be the kind of thing that happens.
Yeah, and I would love it. I mean, if you go to my site, there's a contact form there, and if anybody would like to comment about where they are and where they would like, I'll be doing a survey at the party. So yeah, that's my larger vision, is to do these, just have these once a month.
So fantastic. So people can go on the website, they can get in touch with you and sign up for whatever you...
Buy the tickets. They're cheaper if you bring 2 friends, if you want to shake your booty. It's always nice to have a couple of friends to shake with. The response has been unbelievable, actually. I can't believe how excited everybody is about it.
Well, we're looking forward to it. So it's what, July 21st? And where is it again?
Well, here, this is the best. Okay, it's at Eastminster Church, which is at right at the subway, at the Broadview subway. It's at Danforth and Broadview. But this church, the custodian is Jewish at the church. And they have Jewish services. They have all these Jewish bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs. And for the Jewish high holidays, they have the Jewish services there. And here we're doing a Buddha groove there. So the energy of this place, I mean, talk about open, right? So I'm very excited about it. It's in the gym. It's a 1920s gym that has been used for tons of movies. The last one was My Great Big Fat Greek Wedding Number 2. So it's a beautiful 20s gym, and we're going to have fun.
So July 21st,
Yeah.
What time to what time-ish?
7:30 to, you know, whenever. Some of us baby boomers will be, not me because I'm a party animal. I'm okay to boogie late, but some people will want to leave early. And the food, I've got amazing, like Wanda's Pies in the Sky and Rasta Pasta.
I'm hungry now.
Oh yeah, no, the food is going to be great. Great food, and we've got Bolt fresh juices and matcha and great vendors, and we've got kombucha from Vams. Just good. It's good stuff.
It sounds
Good
healthy
food.
and tasty.
Yeah.
It sounds great.
So hungry right now.
My friend lives right across from there too. So
Oh,
I'm
well.
gonna go and drag him across the street.
Yeah,
It'll be fun.
Yeah, be fun. It'll be lots of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to get all dressed up.
Uh-oh.
You're already dressed up.
Yeah, you're already...
Well,
You're
but
dressed
you
up
know,
every
we
day, aren't you?
we people do get a little bit, you know, it's a little bit more dressy than the regular dance parties, and there's a lot of whooping. You know, we party hardy. It's good.
It's like an electric Kool-Aid acid test without the electric Kool-Aid.
Oh, I'm sorry
Necessarily,
to say,
right?
yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand. You know what I like to say? If you remember the 60s, you didn't live them.
Right. So
And-
if you can't remember, you can go to the Buddha Groove and...
Well, it's
Remember
not.
that maybe.
It's alcohol. There's no alcohol,
I was about to
and
say.
whatever, you know, bring your own poison. But it's certainly, yeah. I was actually usually I do have alcohol, but I've been asked not to have alcohol at this. But there's lots of bars in the neighborhood you can run across, slug one, and come back. That's perfectly fine.
And network.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's gonna be fun.
Okay, Helen. Well, thanks for doing this,
Well, thank
as
you
always.
for inviting me. It's
And-
lovely to be here.
And it's great to show you the new studio here.
Yeah.
And what's the website again? It's
Buddha Groove,
Yeah.
BUDDHAGROOVE.ca. Now there is a BuddhaGroove.com. Don't go there.
no, this is buddhagroove.ca.
Yeah, you'll be looking at statues. This is CA.
Exactly.
And
Okay.
we'll be getting our Buddha Groove salon site up as soon as I nail down a venue. We will be doing that as well.
All right.
So it's really just about, it's a love-in, you know? It really is, and that's what I'm all about.
That's conjuring up entirely new imagery for me.
Well, don't forget, I just came back from San Francisco.
I know.
If you're going, yeah,
Yeah.
it's where I spend my time, 6 months.
Okay, Helen, thanks for doing this. And we're going to go out and look at the website, buddhagroove.ca, and we're going to come back in a couple of minutes with Bill Beecroft from the Wintergarden Orchestra. And Liquid Lunch will continue right here on thatchannel.com.
Thanks for coming. Ariel, very nice meeting you. It sounds like I want to.
And we're back here on the show. It's me, Hugh, and I've got Priscilla as my co-host today. Right? Your first
That's right.
first show. How's it going?
I'm breaking my live thatchannel.com cherry. Co-hosting today. I'm very excited. Very excited. Thank you for having me here.
And we have Bill Beecroft joining us now from the
Bill
Wintergarden
Beecroft, that's right.
Orchestra, right, Bill?
Yes, indeed.
And you were just telling us you were just down in Sarnia
Yeah.
over the weekend. What a fabulous place that sounds like.
It is. I think it has a lot of potential. With some beautiful. I'm also in construction too, but in music we were just down there for fun. But I was just telling Priscilla, I did a wedding down there for a friend with another band that I had 30 years ago, and I think even as a small child, I was over on the Port Huron side, the American side, and it's a beautiful. It's a great destination. It is.
What, the whole area down?
Sorry, yeah, it's beautiful. It really
Yeah.
is. I think they want to keep it a secret too.
Really, eh?
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. Nice beaches, Lake Huron, the whole thing.
Uh-oh. See, that's why you
It's out
don't
now.
hear, you never hear about Sarnia, but now the secret is out.
It is. Yep.
So, okay. Well, sounds good. That's where Max Webster's from. you
Is
know?
that right?
Yeah. Kim
Mike,
Mitchell.
Mike Weir too, the golfer.
That's right.
Mike Weir Park is down there.
But he's got his winery in Niagara.
Well,
I would think you could grow wine in Sarnia. They got a nice climate down there, don't they?
they do, and we took a nice destination home starting at Port Stanley, which is south of London, went all along the Lake Erie shoreline, and it's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Yeah.
It's nice.
So, okay, but we're talking about today the Wintergarden Orchestra,
Yes.
and let's talk a little bit. I mean, I guess you've been around in music for a long time. You're talking about a band 30 years ago.
Oh yeah.
But tell us about the Wintergarden.
Well, the
Orchestra.
Wintergarden Orchestra. We just did a CD. I'm not here to plug the CD.
We're going to plug it anyway. We actually have
plug it
a
anyway, but
close-up of the album cover.
It's merch. We all know about merch.
Can we show the close-up of the album cover here, just to, so when people are in the stores looking for CDs, this is what they should be looking for, right?
Well, we usually just sell them on our gigs at the moment, but I guess we could do it on internet or whatever.
Yeah. Well, we're
I'll talk to Priscilla about that later.
yeah. So okay. So this is the album that's out, but
Yeah.
but tell us about the orchestra.
Okay. A couple of years ago, actually about 3 to 4, I hadn't been running my own band for a while, and I went down to Kerner Hall and I saw a great group called Max Rabba and the Pallister Orchestra, and they were out of Berlin. And I said, these guys are fantastic, and they had a very, very elegant show, and they were presenting great music from not only just our Prohibition era time, which is all through the 20s, and but they also had the Great American Songbook, where they were presenting songs from the Great American Songbook in a somewhat German accent, but it was brilliant. And Max has got the best clothing, and the orchestra's just presentation is perfect. It's just perfect. And they would sell out at Kerner Hall every time.
Every time they came to town.
Every time, and they would come together and we'd do 2 shows in a row. And I was just knocked out with how much fun it was. And I said, you know something, I'm going to do a Canadian version of this. And I just got started. I sat down one day at dinner at my brother's, and I said, this is my concept, this is what I'm going to do, and tomorrow I'll start calling arrangers, and I'm going to study it and some more. And we have about 75 custom-made songs for the 11-piece orchestra. We have 2 violins, great gals. We have a tuba, we have banjo, we have keyboard, we have percussion, and we have trumpet, trombone, and reeds, which would be clarinet and saxophones. And then we have the 2 performers at the front, my Tanya Wills and Ted Atherton, and they're just spectacular. So we've been at it for 2 years now, and we rehearse once a week at St. Simon's Church, and it's we're very pleased with them.
Is it, you know, I'm thinking, do you need another trumpet player? I mean, it sounds like fun. You know, we were talking the other day when we met.
Yes.
You know, I used to play trumpet and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
and I told-
really? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I thought you only played bass.
Well, I play many, many musical instruments.
Oh, jack of all trades right here.
You know, but I used to play trumpet in high school, which was a lot of fun, right? And I was telling you that
Yeah, the
I
other day,
miss
yeah.
playing it But I always wanted to play in a group, right? You can't really play trumpet on your own. At least I don't find that satisfying, right?
No, it wouldn't be. I would say that an alone instrument would be what piano would work.
Maybe
nicely.
piano. Yeah, that's about right.
Or guitar
Yeah.
would be nice, and you can sing with it and that kind
Yeah,
of
but otherwise you want to be playing in a group.
Absolutely, they're ensemble instruments.
And it's fun,
very
right?
much.
You guys must have a blast.
It's almost too much fun, and now we're playing regularly at a couple of places in Toronto. Which the reason that we have them is not to get wealthy, but is to rehearse our show and present it in a live audience. We play at Say What usually once a month on a Sunday, and then we play in a new place we just started with at the Monarch Tavern, and our next show there is July the 27th, I believe, which is a Monday. And we've also, no, I shouldn't say that's the only place. We were down the Regent Theatre. I was telling Priscilla in Picton, and we booked the theater and we promoted it ourselves, and we had a nice house turnout, which means they'll probably have us back again. And then
I mean, that's got to be satisfying to fill a house up like that and do the promotion yourself, because
Yeah.
shows can be notoriously hard to actually.
It's a lot of hard work. It is.
Like-
well, yeah, it was my sweetheart Judy and I. We went down a couple of weeks before. We went and did a radio interview down there at County Radio, which they had just opened, and they did their launch at the Regent Theatre. And Craig McMillan, who books and runs the theater, he gave us some great ideas on what to do, but he would always warn me, this far out you should have this many tickets, and this far. So it's quite a science to the. This is just possibly 5% of the work that has to be done. Putting this, the work is in the promotion, the selling, and the booking, and that's where that's where we're going right now.
So how long has Wintergarden Orchestra been around?
2 years ago, May the 5th.
So 2 years. Okay.
Yeah,
So that's.
since we've been performing on a regular basis.
Now, how do you compare yourself to the Max Raba group now?
We're probably more North American in our style. We will do tunes like by that Cab Calloway wrote, like Minnie the Moocher. We'll do some King Oliver stuff, West End blues. We'll do Benny Moten, Rumba Negro. So we get a little rougher that way, a little more the jazz side, but we'll also do tunes from the Weimar era, which is quite interesting. One song we do was the Lavender Song, which is today you would call it the gay pride anthem, but they wrote that in 1921, and it was by Misha Spoliansky, and he also wrote Tell Me Tonight, which is our title song on this here. So Weimar, Germany, of course there's a place called Weimar, but the Weimar era, the Weimar Republic, was very liberal, and Berlin was very everything.
It was the
Yeah.
decadent hotspot
was
of the planet, right?
Yes,
At the time.
it was, which ended in 1933, of course, but it was great because there was cabarets everywhere, and so we've concentrated on a number of cabaret songs.
Well, that's where that movie comes from. It's set in that era, right? Cabaret, right?
Absolutely. It was inspired by a character that Christopher Isherwood, who was I think he was from Oxford, but he would hang out there with his friend, and that's where Sally Bowles' character came from in one of his novels. I think it was Memories of Berlin, and one of his books was called something like that. So yeah, that's it. And we start usually we start our set with that welcome.
And those
song.
are German songs, right? So from
Well,
that area in particular.
Yes, those are absolutely, and we translate. There's the Lavender Song. There's It's All a Swindle, which we actually do in German. Tanya, very talented, she sings in French, so we'll do some French songs of the period, and we'll do the Weimar.
So these songs are all on the album?
Not now, not yet.
Okay.
These have all I have a couple of had many arrangers, but the latest Billy Bridges, who plays our banjo and guitar, he's a brilliant arranger, and he just I said, Bill, how about this song, or he'll say, well, we're both named Bill, so I don't want to confuse you. But anyway, we get a lot of great suggestions. We have a lot of, as I said, a lot of history in the group itself, and people are doing, well, why don't we do Rhapsody in Blue? So we'll do that by Gershwin, or we'll do, as I said, those Weimar songs by Misha Spoliansky. We actually have three songs of his, which a great singer who is from Berlin, but Uta Lemper, has done a lot of great recordings of this stuff. She's just brilliant too, and she's also been at Kerner Hall. Benny Moten, who Bill Basie, who eventually was called Count Basie, came out of his group. So a lot of the studio players of the swing era were playing all the sessions that did, well, for instance, You're the Cream in My Coffee, Dream a Little Dream of Me, Alabama Stomp, There Ain't No Maybe in My Baby's Eyes, Tango Jealousy, that's 1925, from a Danish composer. He wrote it for, it was a silent film, The Son of Zorro. But there it was in Copenhagen, this Gaithe, what's his name? Yeah, Jacob Gaithe, but it's Gaithe is the way they pronounce it. Yeah. So anyway, that's a smattering.
So now, were you always into this kind of music, or were you, and you just happened to really be inspired by Max Rabe, or?
Yeah, my brother lives in Berlin, and my brother knew one of the saxophone players, Rainer Fox, and he said, Bill, you've got to connect on Facebook with Rainer. And so I think the second or the third time I went to see Max Rabe there, and we actually I met the whole band. The second time we took them all, we were up at the Park Plaza, and we all had a beverage up there. And then the last time, Rainer says, listen, we have to go to the Korean district. We got to go for food after the show on Saturday. We were going to see him on the Sunday, but Saturday we hung out. And they have, I think I'm digressing here, but
I want to hear about this food.
Yeah. Yeah. I could plug the whole city eventually. Just
Let's focus on the music.
I didn't even know we had a Korean district.
Yeah, apparently so. But Rainer, a good friend of my brother's, he said, come and meet, and come after the show. We'll meet all the guys. We'll meet Max. And Max was very curious as to what we were doing, and I'm going to send him eventually something. And it's very exciting. It's just totally, it's toe-tapping, happy music. And maybe a lot of people don't know these songs, but they feel that they've all heard them before. I mean, you've heard Anything Goes, Cole Porter. Great stuff. And the brilliant thing about my vocalists up the front is they memorize songs that no one's heard for 90 years. And they're very heavy on the lyrics, as you know. Anything that Cole Porter does, it's very witty and smart and this and that and the other thing. But no one's singing "Button Up Your Overcoat" anymore, Mm-hmm. But I think because we do rehearse them a lot. I got one little. Oh, you got a story? Did you want to ask me about it?
No.
No.
Don't worry.
There's an interviewer look there. I'm trying to read this.
So it sounds
Just
like you really wanted to
on.
revitalize that point of time in music.
Yes.
And make it your own. So how did you make it fresh, like 2015, or it came out? When did this come out? When did you release this on CD format?
Okay, this just came up about a couple of months ago. We recorded it it takes a year to get it. If you guys are in the music, it takes a long time to put the art.
Right.
You have to do the mechanicals. You have to register just around the corner of Bay Street a little bit, so that if they do play it on the air. Now, I have a moment that I wanted to share with you.
Yes, please.
When I went down.
No, I'm sincerely wanting to hear about this moment.
Okay, we'd finished rehearsal. I went down to the county, which is Prince Edward County, and I recorded an interview with a fellow there. And well, I never heard it, but and then I went back 2 weeks before to do some more promotion, but I'd left them a CD. And as I was sitting in Bloomfield at the Sailor Cafe, I heard our CD being played, and it was one of those moments.
What a great
On
feeling.
the radio, right?
On the radio.
Oh, great feeling.
It wasn't out of New York City.
No.
But it was in Picton, and it was a great feeling.
Yeah.
Because they're promoting it because we were going to come back and do the show.
Right.
And that was my my great.
No, that's really
moment.
cool. That's really cool, actually.
It is cool.
So I'm just curious, like, what kind of audiences are you getting? Like, what kind of, I mean, I'm wondering if there's a certain age group that this music appeals to, or not. You know?
That's interesting. The Orange Devils is a group that plays also at the Monarch Tavern, and we really like these guys. We've been there a number of times, and they have a group of swing dancers that come down. Now, we're not a swing dance orchestra. We are the period before that, which was all foxtrot, quick step, Charleston, tango, that kind of thing. So it was it was more of a formal period, formal yet nuts at the same time. You know, it was all.
But Charleston's not that. It's kind of crazy, right?
Well, it is. It is. I mean, there was.
Can you dance for us? Do you know any moves?
No.
I was telling Bill the other day, I came in third once in a Charleston dance contest.
Oh, that's awesome.
There was 3 entries, I think.
Awesome.
There were 3 entries. But I did win money
Yeah, it's good.
because of my dance skills.
Well, you know, it's they're probably just happy to get anybody up. Yeah, so we do. We're looking for that. We're growing that. Say What has been an area which is that's more of a cabaret show, because we do a show. We can do a show, but they're all dance tunes. But if in a cramped location like Say What, now the Monarch Tavern does have a dance floor.
So what happened? Did these swinger dancers start dancing?
Well, another moment.
Yeah.
Another moment.
Please.
Our first time you remember there was a big, huge thunderstorm. I think it was last Monday or so. It was a disaster, and we were playing at the Monarch for our first time. It wasn't a big audience, but we did get some people in, and we were playing Happy Feet for our last number, and the dance floor, what it is, erupted with these young, handsome couples dancing away to Happy Feet, and because they wanted an encore, we played another one, which was great, you know. So we're starting to build up our audience there. We originally started at Dominion on Queen, but they've closed now, and then we moved over to here. So
That's. I mean, I'm thinking that these days it's like all the music of the past has kind of been updated to the present day, right? And people now, whereas in the past people went through phases. There was a rock phase and a jazz phase and a acid jazz phase, but now disco phase. But now it's like all that music is possible, and people can really find the music that they are attracted to, and they're not dependent on what era they happen to be in.
I think Toronto is now, as I mentioned before, driving back all through the top of Lake Erie and these hamlets and little towns and Port this and that's. They've all had a time. And I guess in a sense, that's not where our audience is going to be, but they do have theaters. So what we're finding with our particular show, it has to be unique. It's a tribute. Like everything seems to be a tribute band in a sense, whether it be the Beatles, or whether it be Tammy Wynette, or whether it be Pink Floyd. This is not one particular band, but it's a tribute to all the different styles that happened in that 13-year period. And one of our markets that we're looking for is all these theaters because in that time, that was the entertainment, was bringing entertainment in, and it was a series of theaters that you would play in a way. Lady Gaga does it, but it's for like 50,000 people. We're doing it's for 300 or 400. Or Kerner Hall does it, and that may be 700, 800. But the theaters are all over Ontario, and that's what we would like to do, is go out and bring back some of this old, and it's mostly, we try to do as acoustically as possible, because we put out a great sound. It's a lot of sound, but we need to not assault the audience. You know, it's a refined time.
Well, in those days, they probably, like, these are acoustic instruments, right? They're made so that you don't need to have amplification, right?
To a degree. I know that they did have amplification for vocalists. I mean, it wasn't all a megaphone. It wasn't like you were on, you know, in front of the Oxford boat team, you know, you stroke, stroke, stroke. They actually had great electronics back then too. Ribbon microphones. It was also very sophisticated.
Well, I'm wondering though, because you have the record that you recorded over the last year, and
Yes.
you know, a lot of the recordings from those days are not as good as the kind of recordings we can make today. You know, so when you hear them or when you think about those songs, even you kind of have that tinny, scratchy sound.
Right.
So I'm just wondering, have you, you know, is this, if people get their hands on your CD here, do they get to hear these songs in the pristine way that they, you know, were meant to be heard if they would have had the very best of recording equipment?
I don't know how to answer that. I'll tell you why.
Or did you put in pops and clicks on purpose?
Yeah, well, there's not, most of this, if you do go onto YouTube and you look up Leo Reisman or Jack Hilton or Fred Rich or Gus Arnhem, there is a huge amount of recording that went on at this particular time. Studio bands, I think we kind of looked down our nose at that particular period saying, well, maybe the clothing wasn't as nice, or maybe the cars weren't as beautiful, or maybe the dresses weren't as elegant. But if you go back and you see the outfits that they were wearing and the nightclubs that they had at the Waldorf or the Coconut Grove or millions of other spots, we're a little in the dark over here, thinking that we are living at this. The recordings that I've heard made just from one microphone have been brilliant. And in fact, even when we record our live stuff, we're just using a Zoom 4. What you guys are familiar with that particular product. And the trick is to make sure whatever's coming off the dance band sounds great, as opposed to having to depend on what we're doing in the studio to mix it and this and that.
So when we hear, because we're going to see a video that was done live
Yes.
at the Say What, was that done with one of these Zooms?
Yeah,
Just to-
that's not a studio recording at all. That's just live off the floor. And Adam Foe, who's the sound and light engineer at Say What, he's a tremendous fellow. He has done a great job, just, you know, with a little bit. We say we just want to run it acoustically as possible. Now, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think that one was done either just off the camera, or lightly augmented with the vocals just to get over the say the tuba or the horns or something. So yeah, that would be done with a small system for sure.
So now, again, let's just tell people where they might get the opportunity to see you guys over the summer. What do you have lined up?
We're working on something. When we were down in Picton, we partnered up with the Carlo Winery, Estate Winery, and Sherry, who's the owner there, really dug what we were doing. And we would go there periodically because we would holiday down in the Picton area, and it was one of my favorite wineries that we would go to. There's lots of great wineries down there, but this one had a nice cat that I liked, so I would like to go back and see Little Bug all the time. But and the ladies that did the wine tasting, they were just super. So Sherry was suggesting, after she co-promoted with me for the show that we did down in Picton in June, that we do something maybe in August for a big, you know, bring the sommeliers and the people with the cheese and the. So we're looking at something August 29th. We're not sure if it's going to happen yet because it's a lot of work to do it, but she says I make parties, so that's what we're going to do, and we'd love to have Wintergarden there. So that's one thing that we could do for a great elegant evening down in the county. As I said before, we do work at the Monarch regularly, or will be on a more regular basis, and then Say What, and we'll start back up in September, usually the second Sunday from 3 till 6. So that's it. So Monarch, we're there on the 27th of July, and I think August 24th.
So is there a place online where we can keep updated with you?
Yeah, we have a Facebook. What a fantastic question,
Thank
Priscilla.
you.
That's great. That's we have a Facebook presence under Wintergarden, and that's the German spelling, which is the GRTEN.
So you go on Facebook and you
Yeah.
type in Wintergarten
Yeah,
Orchestra,
Yeah.
right? And then that'll bring you there.
it's huge. Pictures.
No website, actual.
It's I'm interviewing web builders.
Do you
It's a
have
process.
the URL registered
Yes,
yet?
we do.
You do?
Yes.
What is it?
Well, it's the Wintergarden Orc, I think is what it is.
Wintergarten.
Yeah, again.
.org or no?
ORC, I think is where it stops.
Oh, okay. Wintergarten Org.
Yeah, and that's
Dot.
Hoover or Hover or one of those names that people that register it for you.
Oh, those. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
that's the what did you call him? The Earl? No, the
yeah,
the
well,
something.
the URL. I
yes.
call it. The,
Okay, good.
That
Universal
thing called the internet.
Resource Locator.
Right.
Right? Wintergarten dot. Oh no, Wintergartenorg dot what? .com.
It should
We don't
get you
know.
there.
So, Bill,
It'll
do you
be
plan on working on a second album? This is your first, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is your debut.
Long
Okay.
before we'd even finished this, we've had added another 30 songs, and they just keep getting better and better, and the orchestra gets better.
Well, I mean, Max Rabbit tours the world. Are you guys going to
If
one day?
I think you have to dream it, and then it'll happen.
Yeah.
So, as I said, I've met with Reiner Fox is one of the saxophone players there. They've done every beautiful big hall in the United States. They've done Carnegie Hall. They have an incredible web presence. It's great stuff, and they'll shoot with like 9 cameras. You know, it's perfect.
Okay.
We're a little down. They've been together, I think, since the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so they've got a little bit of a
Yeah,
history.
they're
Well, listen, we're looking forward to hearing you guys right now with the Say What gig. So this is one of the songs you mentioned, right? This is Happy Feet. This
Yes,
is the
it
one that
is.
got everybody dancing at the Monarch,
happy.
Indeed, it did.
right? So here's a little sample of the Wintergarten Orchestra. And Bill, thanks for coming on today. And maybe we can all get out to
Maybe.
Picton for Michael Jackson's birthday, because that's what August 29th is. Don't ask me how I know that.
Fantastic. Well, that's good. Well, there'll be more on that on our website if that comes, or rather our Facebook if it comes to be.
All right. Okay, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, pleasure.
Here's the band in action. We're going to take a little break, come back with Eleanor Healy as Liquid Lunch hits the home stretch here on thatchannel.com.
Happy feet, I've got those happy feet. Give them a low down beat, and they begin dancing. I've got those 10 little tapping toes, and when they hear a tune I can't control,
And we're back on Liquid Lunch, hitting the home stretch. We got Eleanor Healy joining us. And Eleanor, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, we're talking about Little Red Riding Hood, right?
Yes, I wrote a book about Little Red Riding Hood. That's just a small piece, but I can talk about the book, or I can talk about myself first.
Well, let's talk about yourself first then.
So I called myself the True Self Advocate, and it has to do with the book. So for many years, I was, I'll back up a little bit and do a little bit of career cred. So I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, a Reiki teacher. I learned the same, both of those at the same time in 2008. And I was working with a lot of clients. And before that, I was a child and youth care worker working with street kids for 10 years. So I was all about helping everybody else, and basically in my own life, I was miserable because I was, I guess, spending all my energy helping everyone else and being like, okay, I'm going home and I'm not happy, I don't like my life, you know, not having any energy left for myself. And it was just this constant cycle of self-sabotage and just being basically miserable and then putting on a happy face for everybody else. So I got really sick and tired of this, you know, spinning cycle, a spiraling self-sabotage type of thing. And I thought, you know, I better start doing something for myself. And so I came to the point where I made the decision. I was like, enough is enough. I'm done with this. So I started working with myself more and working on my own issues, and then came to the point where I figured out that all of my misery over these years was basically because I wasn't connected to my true self. And I was denying my true self in a lot of ways, and I'll talk more about that. But this was kind of the key and what I learned, and then I thought, okay, I want to pass this on to other people and let them know what I've learned. So that's how I labeled myself the True Self Advocate, because I really know how much my life has changed since I became connected to my true self and what it can do for other people, and that's what I want for them. So that's how
Okay, so that's really interesting. So, and your website's trulyme.ca, right?
Yes,
So
it's all around
people can go
the
there
true
now and
self.
check it out if they want.
Yes.
But so first of all, you must have had something in you that wanted to help, like for street kids, right? That was like your career
That was
at the
my
time,
career,
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm just curious, like, and then, but you weren't happy. So what were you not doing or doing that, like when you figured it out?
Yeah, it was sort of like the over-giving kind of thing. So you give until you get exhausted
Right.
and do a burnout thing. So
Yeah.
it was a burnout emotionally, physically, spiritually. And I thought, okay, I can really expend all my energy and burn out and then have nothing left for myself, or I can start, you know, doing a balance thing and figuring out how I can have something left over for myself but still help people. And that was really the key, that I thought, you know, there is a way to really help change the world, help others, but not, you know, not at the expense of yourself. So that's really what I'm advocating for.
So is this one of those things, like, you know how you meet people sometimes and you go, oh, they're so fake, right? Is that like a good example of a person that's not really being true to themselves, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably an over-reliance on a persona. So, you know, we all have personas and kind of masks that we need to use in our day-to-day life, and they're helpful, and they're not bad per se. It's just, you know, you are a certain way, you know, when you're on camera, or you're a certain way with your family, or a certain way with your friends, and it's all normal. But when you have this over-reliance on just the mask, where it's only about the persona, and you're not really letting your true self shine through, that's when you get that feeling when someone is fake, because it's like they have too much of that mask. You're not really seeing into who they really are.
Right.
And I can kind of explain the true self is really about who we are beyond our personality, beyond our so-called flaws, beyond all that, to really the core of who we are, and just that unconditional love that kind of comes shining through. And you know somebody who's letting that come through, as opposed to someone who's, you know, maybe over-relying on the persona or the mask, or else being too hard on themselves and criticizing themselves, so they're sort of dimming down their light. Those are two kind of examples.
Yeah,
of what
I've
people
always
do.
been intrigued because you talk about as aspects of the true self, the self in the shadow, or the, I guess, persona and the anima.
Yeah. all
That
of those.
Freud probably used those words, right?
Yes.
But I've always wondered really what that shadow thing is. Like, what is it? Because people don't like to look at it, right?
Exactly. So that's part of the self. It's something that if you're not going to look at it, you're going to be imbalanced again, and you're going to have a lot of issues because you'll probably end up sabotaging yourself. If you're not willing to look at the parts of yourself that you don't like, then you're leaving out a whole aspect of who you really are. And it comes down to being able to face those shadows and realizing that they're not so much scary as that they really have a lot of information for you. Like, you know, maybe for example you feel like, oh, I'm very judgmental, or maybe I you know, get down on people too much, and you don't want to look at that part of yourself. You're like, oh no, I'm a nice person, I don't like to judge, and you're just basically shoving that whole part of yourself away. If you're willing to bring it forward and look at it and say, okay, so maybe I do have this tendency to judge people. What is this about? What is the message here? How can I look more deeply into this? How can I figure out, you know, a way of either healing it or even just accepting it? Sometimes it will dissolve, and you won't have that tendency so much because you've actually accepted it. You've let it in. You say, okay, I do have that part of myself, and that's okay. That's part of who I am, and I'm willing to be okay with that. And you might find that a lot of your behaviors will change when you start doing that. It's all about acceptance.
So what happens though when you suppress that part of yourself? Does it, like, you hear terms like projection. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Although I probably should.
She can probably define it for us today.
Yeah. So it's all about kind of denial, projection. All those things are when you're not willing to look at it for yourself, and then it sort of shows up in your world around you. So projection would be something that you don't really particularly want to look at in yourself. You might see it in everybody around you. And then you start saying, well, look at that person, we can stick with judgmental. You know, that person is so judgmental, I can't believe it. And you're, you know, pointing at that person and saying, I can't believe, you know, how they are. And maybe they're not actually like that, but that's the way you see it.
Because
you're not willing to look at that in yourself.
So you say you blame it out there instead of accepting it in here, right? So you get to push it away out there too.
Exactly.
That's not me. That's something I don't like.
Kind of like pointing fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you never get to the point where you fully accept yourself. And when you're pushing parts of yourself away and you're not, you know, embracing your true self, then you're missing out on so many of the good things. So when you're sort of like walking around, limping around half of yourself, right? So you're missing out on all this experience of greater happiness and joy. And, you know, when I started opening up to different things, I realized that, you know, joy, like crying from joy is actually a thing. Like I used to think, oh yeah, it's from 18th century novels, like people crying, weeping over something. It's like, that actually happens when you start to open up and your heart opens and you have all these bigger experiences because you're not afraid of what's going to come up. You're just completely open, and you're opening yourself up to.
And I was just about to go on that. It sounds like you have a lot of life experience and career experience and educational experience. And is this like the whole idea behind the book, all the experiences into your book?
Yes. So the idea behind the book is that I want people to learn from my own personal transformation, how I discovered these things, about how I was denying my true self, how I was sabotaging myself, and then you know, inviting people to go on their own personal true self-discovery journey. And the book has, you know, exercises at the end of each chapter, so they can actually work through these different aspects that I work through, and see if they, you know, if it resonates with them, and they decide they want to, you know, take this journey as well. It's a good way to just have, you know, sometimes I find that it's always nice to know somebody who's already been through something, and you can kind of go, okay, they did it, so maybe I can do it, and I can see how they did it, and that's the idea behind the book.
So can you maybe just tell us a little bit about when you went through the process yourself, right? Because here you went through the process the hard way on your own, right? And now you're offering from your experience and from those lessons learned the hard way for other people to kind of go through the same process, overcome their challenges. How did your life change?
Like I was saying, just opening up to so much more emotional experience, more peace. You know, things that used to really bother me, I would find that I'd be really even keeled about it. Like, oh, that doesn't really bother me so much. Even in family situations, believe it or not, I'd be like, well, that used to really be a huge button, and it's not anymore.
Like that's a big button for like many people,
so many
people,
right? It's like the
yeah.
worst time they have is like at their family, right?
Yeah.
Like, why does that have something to do with this?
Yeah, I feel that. So when you're connected to your inner core and your true self, you have that strength. You've got. It's sort of like you have more answers. You've got more inner strength. You have more ability to deal with things, and you're not kind of all over the place. I find when you're denying a lot of aspects of yourself, you're sort of at the mercy of life, being thrown around, and that's kind of what happened to me. Is like. I was constantly ending up, you know, in the gutter, not literally, but like, it's like my emotions would throw me around. And I found when I started connecting internally with my true self, it was, I was a lot more anchored, more grounded, feeling a lot more peaceful most of the time, not getting so upset about things, feeling better about myself, more confident. And like I said, the greater and greater amounts of joy, just, like before I was like a little bit happy, you know, some of the time, and now it's like the smallest things can make me happy, or like I said, the crying from joy kind of thing, which really surprised me. It can be kind of embarrassing if you're in the middle of somewhere and you're like, I'm crying for no reason, but
That's pretty cool.
it is
that
pretty
happens,
cool.
right?
Was there one specific event that kind of triggered your awakening?
I think it was just, I got to a point where I was sick and tired of myself. Like I said, it was so many years of just going through that, the ups and downs, the emotional turmoil, the burnout, and I think I came to a decision. I was like, this is it. I am doing all these things for other people, and I'm sick and tired of leaving myself out of the picture, and I'm just gonna sit down and make a decision to really help myself now, and that was the turning point.
Like, did you quit your job? Did you stop your relationship?
I actually did it was a big kind of thing like that. I decided to go to Africa, to
Wow,
Kenya.
that's
So
amazing.
I was in Vancouver at the time, and I quit my job. I did exactly that. I sold my apartment, I quit my job, essentially ended my relationship, I guess, and went to Kenya and Nairobi and volunteered there, and I thought, this is really, I was following my dream and my heart's desire. And it kind of backfired, but I feel like the universe led me down so many other different paths. So even though I had sort of a plan. I was like, I'm gonna do this for myself, and I made a big upheaval. It didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, or so-called. But then looking back, all of the things that happened to me that led me to here and to go to school and become a Reiki master, all those things could never have happened if I hadn't, had my experiences in Kenya and come back early and all that stuff.
So now you've got the website trulymee.ca. What happens, so what kind of people out there would benefit from the program that you're offering?
So I think young women who really have a lot of big dreams, they really want to go for it in life, and they feel like they're just sabotaging themselves at every turn, and they're kind of like banging their head against the wall, and they think they have, just a ton of enthusiasm, and they're like, I really want to do a lot of good in this world, but I just keep doing myself in and sabotaging myself. I think my book would really help young women that way, and just help them get more grounded, like I said, and have more confidence and be able to really help themselves as well as help others.
So now you're talking about the Little Red Riding Hood book?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
Because maybe you can give us a little bit of an introduction, first of all, like why
The title.
Little Red Riding Hood?
Yeah, what would Little Red Riding Hood do? 7 ways to face your wolf and live happily ever after. So the title actually was a funny thing. I wrote the book with my experiences, and I felt like, something's kind of missing, because I felt like my concepts needed to be a little more grounded in universal, just to go a little deeper. And I thought, well, this is my story, and that's great, but I wanted to connect it to a bigger theme. So I was really puzzled. It took me a long time, actually. I thought, oh, I can't figure out what's missing about this book, and it's, you know, it's a lot of like going around. So I decided, I'll just meditate, see what happens. So I was meditating, and I was just kind of asking, like, what's missing, and what can I add to this book, or what's going on here? And I heard Little Red Riding Hood. I thought, oh my God, what is that? What is that supposed to mean? And I kind of ignored it and just thought, that's really silly. Like, that just dropped in from nowhere.
Have you already written the book, though, at this
I
point?
wrote the book, but the Little Red Riding Hood was not connected to it yet.
Oh, I see.
So I was trying to find like another concept to connect to the book. And I heard Little Red Riding Hood, and I thought, okay. So I went and I read the story, and I thought, that's amazing, because Little Red Riding Hood is like this symbol of innocence and joy. And what happened to her is, like, she was eaten by the wolf who was dressed like her grandmother. And in the end, she actually is saved, and she jumps out of the wolf fully intact. So I thought, this is a perfect symbol of someone who goes through a transformation, some kind of a, you know, maybe a trauma, but they emerge fully intact. And that's how what we can say a lot about ourselves is, we don't actually get destroyed by a lot of our trauma. We think we are, but we're still intact at our core. So I thought, this is perfect, she's perfect, and so I added in the Little Red Riding Hood, and then I added in the wolf as the shadow. That's the shadow archetype, the dark side, you know, the side we don't really want to look at. And it kind of played those two characters off each other. In the beginning of each chapter, I have a little quote about Little Red Riding Hood and how it relates to our wolf or our shadow, and how when we run from our wolf, we're actually denying ourselves. And I just thought it added a lot of depth. And there's a lot of humor in the book as well, because I didn't want it to be a really heavy type of, like some self-help books you read and you're like, oh my God, I feel really depressed now. Or so I used a lot of my humor to just work on deep topics, but keep it light, and so that you don't feel really overwhelmed by the materials. So
I personally think the symbolism works really beautifully.
Yeah,
And
I
how it
think
came
so.
at the end was really interesting.
yeah, it was the last piece. It was like the icing on the cake kind of thing.
Yeah. What I really like is how you have exercises. In most books nowadays, you don't really see that. So I think that was really innovative for you to do. Can you tell us more about exercises?
Yeah, I have one we can do today that's really quick if you want.
Sure.
Wait, exercise?
now?
Not the literal exercise, Hugh.
Should we do that
Not
now?
the literal one. Come on.
Whatever you guys. It's just a really simple thing. Because one of the chapters is, you know, about victimhood, and how, like, a lot of times I was always, you know, thinking of myself as a victim. I was like, oh, you know, and this would have never happened if it wasn't for so and so, and this happened and that happened, and it was, you know, quite an ingrained pattern in my life. So that's the first chapter of you know, how to move out of this victimhood type of consciousness. So I have a little, it's an easy little exercise if you guys want to.
Let's try it, as long as we don't have to
Let's do
reveal
it.
too much about our...
No, this is, I brought one purposely, and I want people just to work on a really small problem, small to medium-sized problem that doesn't have a lot of emotional trigger to it.
So people can do this at home too?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely can.
Like a small problem, like if I'm thinking about dyeing my hair blonde or not.
Like,
No, a little bit bigger than that.
No, I'm joking. I've been contemplating that for over a year.
like
No,
what
I'm
would be an
joking.
example?
I'll set
So-
it up for you. So basically, the way I did it was you think about one situation in your life, so where you felt victimized by your circumstances. So you just bring that to mind, and you think of like I said, a small to medium-sized situation. For example, it could be a work-related scenario or an isolated incident. Maybe you felt shunned by a coworker, or maybe you lost your job, something along those lines. So you want to think of that situation, meaning like where you felt like it was everybody else's fault, or you were a victim, or it came out of nowhere, or you were blindsided by it, that type of feeling around it. So once you have that in your mind, I want you to imagine, this is where you would kind of flip it on its head. Imagine that you fully intended to end up there. So in other words, if you got fired or if you were shunned, you fully intended for that to happen. So what would you have done to make sure that you ended up in that situation? So then you can write down your feelings around that, or you're sort of like, oh, okay, so if I was fired from my job, let's see, how would I make sure I would do that? And just kind of free write. Things may come up like, oh, well, I guess I was late every month, or yeah, maybe I was rude to a coworker, or these things start to come up like that were pushed way back in the distance.
But these are the things that you actually probably did, right?
But we're not going to go there yet.
Okay.
So because the reason I'm doing this slowly is because we kind of resist. Like, first of all, the word victim is it's not really a fun thing to think about.
Nobody wants to be a
No
victim.
one wants to be a victim, right? So this is not about judging ourselves or feeling less than or anything like that. This is trying to actually empower ourselves by reframing things and looking at it differently. So if you feel like you were victimized by this situation, then look at, okay, well, what if I had actually wanted that to happen, or I intended it for it to happen? And then you write down your ideas around that. And then the last piece is all of those actions or the things that you might have done. You write next to it, those are the best choices I made at the time. And that's the reframe. So, for example, being late every day, or, once a month or whatever it was. Maybe at the time, that was just the best, I was doing the best I could. That was the best I could do at the time. And it's like reframing those actions so that you feel better about it, and maybe sort of admit to yourself a little bit of how you were involved in that situation. And that's it, basically. I can give an example from my own life, if you want.
Yeah.
So when I was 20 years old, I ended up basically penniless at my parents' house, moved back in to sort of the rebound, because I had gone to school for travel and airline, and I was all excited about being in the travel industry. And straight out of high school, I did this post-secondary course. And I was all excited, oh yeah, I'm going to go in the travel industry, I'm going to travel, it's going to be exciting. And it ended up that I really didn't like it. I was sitting in a cubicle for a year, and I couldn't stand it, and I basically just blew off the job. I quit, went up to Jasper, Alberta, to try and get a job and work in a resort and make lots of tip money. Everything blew up in my face. I ended up, 3 weeks later, back in my parents' house, penniless and clueless, with no job prospects, no career prospects, anything and nothing. And I felt completely victimized. I was like, I can't even believe the travel industry, my boss, I can't believe this happened and that happened and the stupid job, and everything was all about everybody else. So when I sat down and I did this reframe, I was like, okay, if I really wanted to end up without a job, without a career, what would I have done? And all these things started popping up, like, oh, okay, well, maybe the fact that I only applied at really small companies and I didn't go for the travel, like the big airlines and the wholesaler companies. I only went with this one small place, and all these things that I did, I thought, well, that's probably leading straight to me having no job, no career. And blaming my boss for things, which, and also throwing out the whole travel industry, instead of just saying, okay, I didn't like that particular job, why don't I just go try another job? But no, I just kind of said, no, I'm not going to deal with the travel industry anymore at all. So when I looked at all those pieces and then reframed it, I thought, okay, this is the best choices I made at the time. I applied at a small company because maybe it was a good way for me to get my foot in the door. Maybe I didn't have confidence in, just going for the big travel industry all at once. And once I reframed it, I thought back on that situation. I was like, that I feel so much better about it, and I felt so empowered. And that's really what that exercise is all about.
Now, are there more exercises?
Yeah, there's every chapter has an exercise. There's 7 chapters. Some have exercises and 2 types of exercises per chapter. So there's really a lot of work you can do. It's like a practical workbook that you can use it as. So
It almost sounds like, really, for somebody that senses this is the problem, that they could get their hands on this book and actually work through the problems themselves, right?
absolutely.
Like a self-help.
Yeah, but with the exercise, it makes it's not just another book you're reading and then putting back on the
Exactly,
shelf,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's so interesting.
Now, is there, when is the book coming out?
So it's going to come out as an ebook first in August this year, so in the next month. And the best way that people can get it is it's going to be on my website, which is the trulymee.ca. And if they want to stay in touch, they can go to my website and actually sign up for my newsletter. Because I'm going to be making the announcement via my newsletter. So if you
Right,
can
we're looking
sign
at your
up.
website right now, so they can sign up there, right?
Absolutely. And then, my email list is always the first to know about everything. So if you want to be in the know,
Get on the list,
sign
right?
in. Exactly.
Now, do you think there are going to be other tools that you can develop? It sounds pretty amazing. It sounds like this might be all anybody needs, right? If they're in a situation
Absolutely.
like...
It's a definite good start for sure. I am working on using the material from this book and doing online classes. So taking different pieces and going deeper with each chapter in a class. So they would have like the slides. They'd have me talking and the slides and then more exercises. So that's coming out as well, but that'd be the book's coming out first. So
we got to wait till August for that. But if people are watching this on the internet,
They want it
I
now.
know, I know.
Everybody wants it now.
What? But see, people could be watching this on YouTube in September, right? Its book's already out. You know what I'm saying? It's all time shifting. We're
Yes,
time shifting here.
Exactly. You're right. You're right. So I should say it in there are classes available. Put it that way.
So did you get any inspiration from past self-help books or philosophical books? Because there are so many out there, like you were saying, right?
Yeah, over the years, there's been so many. Like I listen to Hay House Radio, which is they have a lot of really
there's a bunch of amazing people.
amazing people on there. You know, Caroline Mace and there's Christy Marie Sheldon. There's a woman, Melody Beattie. She wrote a ton of books on codependency, and there's a lot about sabotage and moving through victimhood and that type of thing. She really helped me through a lot, and she wrote amazing books. I think she's been writing books since the 80s or late 80s, and she's an amazing person. So yeah, I got a lot of inspiration when I was doing my own healing work. I was looking to, who are the mentors out there, who are the people that can help me work through it, and that's kind of, I guess, what I'm doing is passing it on. They helped me so much, and now I'm passing it on.
So I'm just curious because you listen to Hay House Radio, they got a lot of great authors, self-help people. Like, what inspired you to come up with something new? Because it sounds like a unique new concept, right? It's a different approach.
Yeah, I think it just came out of my own life experiences, just a melding together of everything that I was experiencing, either in my counseling with others, my Reiki practice, the nutrition piece, all the self-help reading I did. It just all kind of blended into my own, I guess, unique take on things. And the way that happens is just by getting really in touch with your true self again. It's just, you get these ideas that come and insights and things. Because I asked myself that too. I was like, well, there's so many self-help books out there. Who's going to want to read this? And you go through this little spiral of self-doubt. And then I thought, no, but the thing is, there's the way people present it, and the person who's writing it, is they have a different take on it because it's coming from them. So some people will want to buy something from you or read your book because of the way you present it and your unique experiences. So I thought, yeah, that's exactly why I was attracted to certain authors, and why this can be helpful for other people, is they like the way I deliver my message or the energy I put out, just that type of thing. So.
I think sometimes these fairy tales, right? We don't even know where they come from, right? Like, we don't know who wrote them. They seem like they've been around forever, and they kind of present. They're like they're more morality tales, right?
Yeah.
And they're archetypal, right? Like, where does that come from, really? Do you think?
Well, I think, like you said, it's been around for so long because they're like universal concepts, and we always want to sort of find a way to ground our experiences in something bigger. So it's like, here's a universal concept of like storytelling and fairy tales and all that is sort of a way of describing our experiences in like the way Carl Jung would say, in the collective unconscious. It's all out there in that soup, and people are kind of they have access to it and they have an imprint from these archetypes and stories, and they kind of can bring in those ideas and ground it in their own experience. So it makes more sense to them, and it's more appealing universally, I think, is the whole idea.
I think it's kind of cool that you're taking one of these fairy tales and a little voice almost whispered in your ear,
I love
right?
it.
Little
Like
Red
the
Riding Hood.
symbolism
Exactly, yeah.
and the
Yeah.
spirit or the energy
Yeah.
just came around you at that moment.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
thought I actually, it almost didn't happen because I thought, oh, this is so silly. Little Red Riding Hood, you know, because sometimes things pop into your head. It's just the thought, right? But I thought, because I was specifically asking in a meditation for some insight, I thought, okay, well, at least I better go and look it up and read the story. So once I read it, that's when it all came together. I was like, this really actually does make a lot of sense, you know, and I should trust these messages more. That's
So-
another.
Now, what do you think you're going to do next? Are you going to, is something else kind of calling to you? Something else to work on next?
I think just, yeah, focusing on the book and then the classes that will come out of those chapters and develop more, just finding different ways to pass this information on and sort of mentor people through the process.
So now if people are interested, whether they're in the future or the past, they can go on your website and
yeah.
sign up for your newsletter.
Yeah, and on my website will be, like I have a podcast I do on a weekly basis. On my website, you can go there. I have a blog. So a lot of things that come to me, you know, that maybe I'm dealing with or some kind of tips or something that I worked through, I'll put it in my blog or do a podcast about it and just kind of pass it, pay it forward kind of thing. And usually it really resonates with people because it's, you know, it's kind of, again, a universal experience. So people have there's no shortage of stuff on my website, that's for sure, they can get into.
Well, we should probably tell people where to go. It's, what is it?
Trulyme.ca.
And if it's August 2015 or later, good chance that the ebook will be available there, right?
On the website,
Is it going to
yes.
be, are you to charge for it, or just curious?
Yeah, they're still working out the pricing. It's not going to be too much, like it's around $3.99, something like
Yeah.
that for, yeah.
Great.
So it's very accessible.
And very affordable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thanks for coming out today and
Thank
telling
you
us
so
the
much.
story. It really sounds like it could be useful for a lot of people to get in touch with their true
It
selves,
does.
right?
Yes,
It
thank you
does.
so much for having me. It's a
Okay.
pleasure.
Well, I guess that's it for the show. Priscilla, what did you
That's
think?
it. That's all for today, folks.
What did you think? Your first show?
I was just overwhelmed with the abundance of amazing people, to be honest with you. Like
Yeah.
everybody came in with like great spirits and amazing stories, amazing life stories.
Yeah. Well, that's liquid
So
lunch.
That's so cool.
I hope that's not the devil's
Yeah.
sign.
For real.
Okay, guys. Thank you both.
Thank you.
And thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks, Chris, for
everyone.
running the board. We'll see you all next time right here on thatchannel.com.